You're listening to the Jōrni Podcast. Could embracing your self-worth be the key to finding balance and joy without burnout? Stay tuned for more. This episode contains adult subject matter and some listeners may be triggered by this content. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Jōrni Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we explore how recognizing and honoring our self-worth can lead to greater balance and fulfillment in both life and business. By understanding the connection between self-care and professional success, we look at how taking time to nurture ourselves can enhance our focus, resilience, and overall performance. DeDee Cai is the founder and a performance coach of Fit to Profit, a company that utilizes psychology, cognitive science, and holistic wellness to help entrepreneurs get holistically fit to attain peak level of performance in their life and businesses. With over 15 years of experience in running her own businesses in the brick-and-mortar health wellness industry, DeDee married her love for living an optimal lifestyle and business to create Fit to Profit. She believes that your self-worth is your net worth, and she's on a mission to empower women to live up to their own potential unapologetically while changing the world. Here is my interview with DeDee Cai. Hi, DeDee. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I've been looking forward to getting to chat with you because your self-worth is your net worth. Such a fantastic topic for today's episode. And I can't wait to find out more because this sounds like there are a lot of pieces to it. So welcome to the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Petra, for having me. I'm so delighted and honored to be here with you today.
Amazing. It's my absolute pleasure. And would you like to start by sharing a little bit about yourself and maybe your story and what brought you to doing what you do today and also what it is that you do today so our listeners can get a bit of an idea of who you are and then can get to know you a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So honestly, Fit to Profit, what does that mean? And what does it mean to be so worthy that it becomes your net worth? All of that is, like you said, a lot to unpack. It honestly has been a personal journey for me. To be honest, I am a first generation immigrant and I was born in Vietnam and didn't move to the States until I was 12. So long story short, I was the golden child. I did everything that my parents wanted me to do and to pursue the American dream, and found myself in my very first corporate job, great job out of college, and realized I was sitting in a cubicle and very quickly realized that, wow, this is not my definition of an American dream nor happiness. And I thought, wow, what a disappointment. So my position in corporate, my only time in corporate was very short-lived. It lasted 6 months. And it's a blessing in disguise when I got introduced to helping my mom in the back end of running her salon businesses. By then, I had a taste for what it's like to be a business owner of some sort. And she also wanted to translate her business from having salons into another business, also brick and mortar. She wanted to open her dream restaurant. So I jumped on the opportunity, having no business experience, not only that, nor life experience. I was actually in my early 20s when I accepted the position as her business partner. And yes, I learned everything, honestly, from scratch. I was definitely self-taught. And we opened our business during 2008, which is election year, definitely during in the States. By then was the economic crash, right? Like the real estate tumble. But we did really well. We were profitable right away the first year, and we were in business for 5 years. In the midst of all of that was when I found myself once again living an American nightmare versus a dream, because I found myself working 18-hour days. And I didn't see my boyfriend at the time when I was dating him. Poor man was coming to open the restaurant with me in the morning before he goes into work. He comes during lunch just to help us with the lunch rush, and then comes after work to help with the dinner rush. And so I think it was that one very moment when he and I were on vacation in the most beautiful part of the world. I think you probably have visited, in Venice, Italy. And we sat in the cutest cafe. I can still see the window when it was still sprinkling outside. And I couldn't pay attention to him. Like, we were waiting for our lattes, cappuccinos, and all I was doing was staring at the phone, waiting for someone to call from across the country, as if something is going to happen, like the restaurant's going to burn down. I realized after that, that was not the life that I want to live for the rest of my life. And it didn't also, once again, match my vision of living a dream. That was more like I was imprisoned by this one business. And by then, when I got back, I was already completely burnt out. And I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally. I had to have a long conversation with my mom because it was her ultimate dream. And also, unfortunately, wasn't mine. So it was a hard conversation. I'm the only child as well, too. And the reason, honestly, why I said yes is because she was recovering from her divorce. And I felt emotionally obligated to help her recover, from that fall and, from that experience. And everything was turning up. Honestly, I was really excited after we closed the restaurant. We didn't sign the new lease and we were moving on. And my husband, now my boyfriend at the time, proposed. And the week of my wedding was like the most magical time. We were finishing up the last touches for planning, etc., and things like that. That was also the same week when I lost my best friend to suicide. It was literally 5 days before our wedding date when we found out, and we buried her 3 days, July 4th, and our wedding was July 7th. I shared that story intentionally because that was also the moment where I also realized I was suffering from depression and anxiety at the same time, but in silence. That was the moment where I realized that I have the responsibility to prevent and do anything and everything I could possibly do to prevent that experience from ever happening to anyone. But before that, I had to also heal myself. So that was beginning of all of it. And I started taking care of myself physically. Then, of course, I started working through the grief and really channeled my grief into doing something more positive. I started taking care of my health on a very internal level, emotionally, and also with all the diets. I enrolled myself in a holistic health coaching program. Hence why you probably see a lot of what I talk about. Entrepreneurship is a holistic experience. And so that's how I embarked on healing myself emotionally and then, of course, mentally. Last but not least, the spiritual aspect of things. I share all the little details of the stories up until that point was when I realized that was my calling, is from my tragic experience is where I can teach people how to truly live their authentic life. Corporate didn't work out, brick and mortar didn't work out, all of the things, because I was actually living other people's expectations of how my life should look like instead of my own, right? And so Fit to Profit, it's a company of all the above. We believe fit to be profitable in your business and life is because you have to be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually fit to be holistically fit to be successful in both life and business. So from my experience, teaching myself to heal myself alternatively and also running my own brick and mortar businesses and now a coaching virtual digital business, I've realized that a lot of everything that I have learned so far comes down to one piece, which is the self-worth piece. And the reason why I couldn't listen to myself before, because I didn't think that I was worthy enough to follow my own plans, right? And so I had to do it all wrong. I have made all the mistakes, so you don't have to, right? To do what I do today as a mentor. I'm also a certified money coach. So a lot of what we teach our entrepreneurs is really how to get into alignment with who she is as a person, what your values are, and really stand behind that and build a business that evolves around your life versus the other way around. So we teach extensively about finances because of my background as a money coach, but really learning what it really means to uncover all of our money stories, right? So I grew up in third world country and we didn't really have real toilets, all of the things. And so I have this very taboo concept of money where, it's never enough. And we didn't have anything growing up. I remember being so heartbroken and felt like I was not worthy. Here's the worthy piece here, just because my mom didn't have the money to buy me an afternoon snack, right? After school snack. So I associate it with, oh no, I'm not worthy enough. She doesn't love me. But it has nothing to do with that. But until I actually was able to uncover that money story was when I realized, oh my goodness, no, I am worthy, even though no matter where I came from, and that yes, I'm not going to let money rule me and control my life, but at the same time, I have to be able to embrace and respect it. Long story short, I had to learn it the hard way. When I first started my business, I had great months of $30,000 months and then like for nothing for the next couple of months. Well, because I was viewing money as is something that was evil. And that I was not an evil person. And so I don't want a lot of money. And when I had the money, I had to get rid of it. So the first piece we teach in our program, it's called Worth to Wealth, is that we have to understand what our money stories are all about, right? And how is it translating to how we are as entrepreneurs or as adults and what our money behaviors are, because it's all really related. Another piece, once you understand the money stories, then it's like, okay, what is your money's personality, right? We all have personality, extrovert, introvert, same thing. We have money personalities. Somebody's a survender, other is savior, or like somebody who is a victim or somebody's an innocent. I have a fool as a personality, in my money stories. So I'm very compulsive when it comes to certain things. I go with my heart. So we talk about that. We talk about the money personalities. We talk about the money stories that related to why we operate the way we do. And last but not least, really teaching women how to understand that to create impact in the world, we have to feel worthy enough of our own success to charge what we are designed to charge, to be profitable, so that way we can help more people. And so that's my story, why and how everything started. And honestly, based on my moment of, I guess, purpose was found in losing my best friend and realizing that my responsibility in this lifetime is to heal myself and help other women feel worthy of themselves. Because like my best friend, she was the most beautiful human that I know, but she didn't see herself that way. And a lot of us, including myself, had to learn it the hard way to know that unless we feel worthy enough of our own success, we're not going to be able to do whatever it takes to be successful. So truly, I really believe that our self-worth is our net worth. That's how it all started. And this is where I am today.
Thank you so much for sharing that and so beautifully put. Oh, wow. There are so many pieces that you touched on where I'm just sitting here nodding. I was also a child in immigrant family in Canada. I worked for the better part of a decade in our family business, so I understand that part of it. So yeah, there were so many things that I was nodding my head to, and this expectation that comes with a lot of those things is kind of what also pulled the rug out under from my feet and landed me in burnout a few times as well. So yeah, I absolutely hear you on what you are sharing, and thank you for sharing, how you were growing up and what that was like to kind of chase that American dream and work for that. So yeah, thank you for that. And I love the idea that we can work for holistic success. We can work on our self-worth, our money stories, And if I were to take a guess, I think that there are probably quite a few listeners who might be business owners or practitioners in some kind of way that are coming up against those challenges as well. So I love the idea that you have a program where people can work with all of that and actually kind of bring that, whatever their passion is or whatever their purpose or dream is, into life that is sustainable for them to work with and really will bring them satisfaction and fulfillment and not end them in burnout or chronic stress or anxiety or depression, which unfortunately happens a lot of the time. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Fit to Profit, what an amazing name for your company. I love that as well. Now, when we talk about these kind of challenges as entrepreneurs, and I mean, you touched on a few of those as you were telling your story, what were some of the biggest things that you're coming up against? You mentioned expectations, you mentioned sort of the money stories. Anything else that you really feel that are things that entrepreneurs maybe in particular, but even practitioners or, healing practitioners might come up in their own work, things that really become stumbling blocks as we're building our businesses and trying to find sort of that work-life integration or that work-life balance, if you want.
Yeah. So I love that you asked that question because of course we are entrepreneurs. There are so many challenges, right? I want to point out two that I want to say super prevalent, of course, in my journey and also for all of my clients as well. Number one is that shiny object syndrome is real. I've spent over $200,000 on coaching and programs and courses and you name it, okay, to speak on it today because we always feel like we need to buy the next thing. We need to reach out for the next strategy. But we do very little in really asking ourselves, what do I really want to do? Right? And really redefine our own definition of success. Like, what does that look like? Honestly, for some of us, it doesn't have to be millions of dollars. Like my goals have changed throughout the years. Like when I was single, things were different. And now I have a family, things are different. But the core thing is to really understand, is that the thing that I need? Am I being resourceful with what I already have? Because chances are we have mostly everything that we already need to be successful at the level and at the season that we are all in. That's one thing. The second piece to that is that we also think that hustle and working hard is the way, and it's not. Based on my story, I learned it the hard way, right? Like work really hard, get straight A's and volunteer and be the best student and the best daughter that you can possibly be to end up in a cubicle. That was not like, if you compare the effort and the hard work and everything to compare to getting that as an outcome as results, it doesn't equate to all the effort, right? If hard work was the key to all of it, then the most hardworking people, which is like teachers, firefighters, all the service professionals, should be getting paid millions of dollars, but they are not. So I'm just using that as a very practical example for us, right? To see, look, hard work does not mean it yields you happiness or monies or dollars or anything like that. So if that's not the case, why not do it your way? Why not do it in a way that suits you and that is sustainable for you so you can actually enjoy the process, learn what you need to learn in the process and become a better person in the process. So when you get there, you can actually enjoy it instead of when you get there being completely burnt out and like resentful, like, with everyone around you. So those are the two. And one, I believe plays on the other, because if we're in alignment of who we need to be and how we need to do it, we would not have this, shiny object syndrome of like, maybe I need the next thing. No, you may not need it. Just because AI is everywhere does not mean that you should be scared of it, or should you use it? It's so interesting. And so I want to really bring us into that conversation of really getting really true and real with ourselves of what it is that we need and when we need it. And honestly, because I have bought so many programs or were involved in so many programs prior to when I actually needed it. So it's really important to know what it is you need and really truly stay, in alignment with who you are and what you need to be doing. And we need to do more work asking ourselves that question, then reaching out everywhere else, social media, mentors, whoever it is, and think that they have the answer for us when they don't. They already have the answers of what's already been done or what's already is available. Perhaps you can come up with something new.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why when I landed in corporate and when I started brick and mortars, I was like, wait, yeah, people did that. They already did that. Like why is there something else that I can do? That is slightly different. Granted, coaching is not anything different, but what's really interesting is I wanted to always be a therapist. That's why I have a background in cognitive and counseling psychology, because I wanted to be a therapist. But then I was like, something was not right. And then until when I discovered the coaching industry, I'm like, this is right. You see? So it could be an idea, but if you're not clear on it, just keep taking that next step and it's going to lead you on the right path. And that leads me to the last element of being a holistic entrepreneur is that spiritual piece, right? Like every single experience, especially the really bad ones, are really meant to teach a lesson. And all the money that I've spent in coaching for me to be able to tell you today, what I just told you is that we get to be our own answers and we need to stay in alignment with what success means and what our values are, right? So that's what I have to tell you in terms of being an entrepreneur and what the challenges that I'm seeing, especially with today's technology and everything else. We kind of have to go back to the basics. And for me, that's how I found fulfillment, to be honest. When I first launched my business, the restaurant business was like $500,000. When I launched my coaching business, it was $200 just to start a checking account. And it's been almost 10 years next year. And I have not looked back. And like, I'm always constantly looking for ways to how I can better my craft as a coach. So it does not have to cost a lot of money. It does not have to be the next strategy that is fresh and new and on the leading edge of anything. You are the idea. You are the knowledge. And a lot of times we look outside of ourselves. And I just want to really bring us all back to honestly check in with yourself first before you go elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really great point. And I can probably name 20 or more entrepreneurs, including myself, that have had the shiny object syndrome because we thought that would fix something, right? And it just does not. So, yeah, that very well put. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm kind of imagining when you work with entrepreneurs and you work with your clients on their businesses and with them, a lot of people they follow a dream, they start up a business, it's their passion, and at some point it feels like a prison and we kind of lose that motivation for it, that passion for it. We very often end up working insanely long hours like you have done and kind of losing our mental health to that business that once was our passion. And maybe even, our relationships are suffering because we are spending so much time trying to put out fires and keeping it going. Now, if someone is at that point and they're encountering these challenges and they know they have to keep going because it's their existence, they have to put a roof over their family's head, they have to feed their children, they feel like they can't step away because everything will come crashing down. Where does someone like that start to pivot? I mean, if they're asking themselves the question of what they want and they feel like this is their passion, what are some of the things that they should maybe be considering or looking at if they're feeling trapped like that and they may need a change in how they're doing their business?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, that's the very first symptom of a burnout. You're on the verge of a burnout. And the reason, honestly, I've learned it the hard way to tell you so, is that when you are burning out, it's because you don't have a system already to take care of yourself on a personal level while you're running your business, period. They're probably not sleeping. They're probably burning, candles on each end. They're probably not eating well. They're probably not exercising, right? They're probably are not emotionally supported, whether from their staff, their team, or their significant other, or even themselves, right? So that is the moment when you have to take a step back and reevaluate. Yes, you may have to put, a roof over, the head and things like that. Honestly, I have lost everything in the past and I was still able to rebuild, right? It's because you have to rebuild yourself first. Because it doesn't, because otherwise you can have a situation where you have made all the $1 million and then you've fallen sick. I have many stories of my clients having to stop and recover from that and or so burnt out that they quit, So if anything, the reason why burnout happens emotionally, physically, mentally, is because there isn't a system where everything is working sustainably and cohesively. So I would say reevaluate your schedule of what you're doing. Less is always more. They're probably running 10 different strategies at the same time. Guess what? I know that. I used to do that. But it doesn't mean more hours. Again, working hard, struggling, it does not yield success whatsoever. It's actually the opposite, right? Especially if we are smart enough with AI, with the technology, with the internet, like you're in France, I'm in the States, completely across the world, and we can do this, meaning we can learn to work smart, you guys. Do not work hard. Like, I want to show you my easy button. This is my little hack to get for your desk and remind yourself that things get to be easy because we get to leverage technology. We get to work really smart. And that means we have to take care of ourselves first. We have to have a system to take care of ourselves on a personal level. I have my 4 Fs that I don't negotiate with. I call it non-negotiables. Is that my faith is number one. Second is fitness. I always have to work out in the morning, family, and then fulfillment. My work is last. So you have to have a rhythm where it supports you to take care of yourself on a very personal level, right? I'm usually off every other Friday fully because I needed to, get my chiropractic work. I need to go to a dental appointment, whatever it may be. It has to be sustainable. And that's why I was saying you have to create a work schedule that works around your life and not the other way around. Like corporate, you ask for permission to go to a dentist's office. No, you don't do that. You have a schedule where you need to have every personal thing on there already. Then you plug in when you're going to be working in between that. That's how I built my business. That's how I run my life. And that is number one, what I would suggest if you're completely on the verge of a burnout or you're burning out, reevaluate your schedule. Throw away like 75% of it. You don't need to do, you just consider 2-3 things that you need to do on a daily basis. We call the MIT, maybe just one most important thing. What's the most important task that you need to do to actually move the needle forward, move your business forward? Chances are it's always going to be sales related or marketing related, right? But most of us don't do. Again, I had to learn it the hard way. So work on yourself and then work on one item or 2, 3, depends on your schedule, that it's actually going to move your business forward. And yeah, it's really time to regroup, to take a big step back and really consider, to write down your values of what your non-negotiables are and restart with that. I know that was a pretty long answer.
I
to
love
you.
that. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's actually amazing advice on how to start off and how do you work with some of the feelings that come up around that, because there could be a lot of fear because changing like that and putting ourselves first is maybe something we have never done before, and to shift the mindset from this kind of hustle culture to putting ourselves first and looking after ourselves can be a very drastic shift in how we operate. So how do we work with some of that fear, the anxiety, maybe even some of that resistance that comes up when it's time to sit down and, like you said, take a look at the schedule, maybe prioritize, throw out 70% of the things we've been wasting our time on. How do we deal with those things that come up that might actually just keep us from going forward with that?
Yeah. So I have good news and bad news. There's always the two sides of the coin, right? The good news is you can't get it wrong. You cannot get it wrong if you make a decision that things going to have to change. You just can't. Like the minute you decide, wait, this is not working, I need to do something about it. Guess what? Your whole system, your knowledge, your wisdom, your friends, whoever is going to give you the right cue for you to take for that next decision. But it's making that first decision that things are going to change. You're not going to get it wrong. And the bad news is, I wouldn't say it's the bad news. Actually, it's really fun now. It's as a practice. It's not going to happen overnight, right? Just like how we are so conditioned and trained to work hard. I don't know how old you are, but I can date myself like for 40 something plus years, right? To decode from all of that, to like unravel all of that. So it's not going to be overnight. I think it's a process of really embracing it, making the decision and really embracing the process and giving ourselves enough compassion and self-love as we take the steps. Because it's honestly a practice. That's why I have this little easy button and other things around my office to remind me to constantly be in the work, because it's not overnight. It took so long to be conditioned to work hard. Honestly, still, I just literally had coffee with my girlfriend this morning and it was like, wow, because we had 2 storms came through like this part of Florida. And wow, talking about releasing control of things that I cannot control was the work the last 2 weeks, and being so okay with not working because I have to prep our family to withstand the storms. Like that was the work, and wow, was that practice of like, what can you do? And you have to let go of the rest, right? And so it's a practice. It's really one step at a time. And so that's what I mean now is like, what's the one thing that you can do? Or chances are probably more like you can stop doing. That is actually going to help you slowly get closer to your ultimate goal and your definition, of success and freedom and whatever it means. Like, and always asking your question of, why did I start my business in the first place? Why? Like, right? For me, the answer is always so clear, because I want to help people stay happier with themselves, no matter what, right? No matter what I sell, like that is my reason. And most of us entrepreneurs, we started our business based on a very simple reason as such. Like we want to uplift at some level. We want to be healing someone or helping someone. Like we want to create the change, that we want to create in the world being entrepreneurs. Like I can speak for 99% of entrepreneurs who's been around. Like we just didn't come up one day and be like, oh yeah, because it's easier than having a job. No, it's absolutely not. It's 100,000 times harder than being an employee, So it's not something that you can nonchalantly like sign up for, right? So I would say always ask yourself the honest question, why? And why is it not working? And chances are because you probably lost yourself in the process somehow, right? You got drifted away from what's most important to you and feed into the hustle culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a really great thing to leave our listeners with is maybe for them to sit down and think about one thing that they can let go or stop doing in their business that would kind of change their schedule, even just a little bit, to free up some of that space so they can ask themselves some of those questions going forward. So, yeah, amazing. Thank you for that. And I'm kind of wondering now if our listeners are curious by what we've been talking about, maybe they are practitioners or business owners, or they're in a position where they experience a lot of burnout or anxiety or depression, and they might want to work with you. What kind of programs and services do you offer that our listeners could connect with?
Yes, absolutely. So very excited about our new program that's called Worth to Wealth Accelerator. Is 6 weeks transformation experience that we talked about uncovering your money stories. right? And then learning about your money personalities. And last but not least, develop a system for you to how you can control yourself on a mental, emotional level of how to manage the day-to-day tasks of building your business, but truly build you the confidence that you need to understand that your work is worthy and that you to be able to create more impact in the world, that means you have to help more people. And to be able to donate or to create a foundation for your family and leave a legacy, it requires certain profits in your business. So understanding the value of your work and being able to be that change and charge the worth that you need to create the impact is what we are going to be teaching in the Worth to Wealth Accelerator. Ultimately, it's building you a system where you can build your self-confidence from the inside out and knowing what you're worthy.
Amazing. And I think that is one of the biggest stumbling blocks is deciding what to charge or even having that courage to ask for money when you're offering services. I know, especially in sort of the healing practices, there's almost a bias that if you're helping someone, you shouldn't be charging for that. And so a lot of practitioners that I know run into that problem ultimately is that they're afraid to actually ask for money for their services. So sounds like a wonderful program to start working with some of those roadblocks and challenges and barriers that we may have in our subconscious that are holding us back from moving forward with our dreams and passions. So yeah, that sounds fantastic. And this program is coming, you said in about a third week of January, right? So we're
launching. Yep. January 23rd is the official first launch. Yep.
okay.
And yeah, so I would definitely invite anyone who's listening to this episode, if you have any questions about it, if there's one thing that resonates with you and you have, some question around, I'm just a message away, truly. Find me on social media anywhere. I'm just DeDee Cai, and you can Fit to Profit and on there. Yeah, I really truly believe that us women can have it all as long as we're willing to work on ourselves and really believe that we are worthy. The sky is not even the limit. So thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you. And we, of course, will be linking to all of DeDee's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there for her program launch, for the socials, how you can connect with her online. And if you'd like to sign up for her program and be part of that launch, then we will link you to that as well. And thank you for tuning in today. And thank you, DeDee, for being here today and sharing your wisdom. And it's a hard one, wisdom, because I feel like you have paid a lot of dues for all this knowledge and experience that you have gathered. So thank you for sharing that and giving our listeners and myself a bit of insight on, how can we do this not so painfully while we're moving forward, learning from your experience. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here today. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, thank you to you for having this space, this platform, so that way we can share stories like this, so we can create the change that we want to, right, collectively. So thank you for having me. And yes, honestly, this is what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life. So thank you for allowing me to be able to share my story and my passion and purpose.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And I do agree that I think most of us got into this because we want to help and support others. So yeah, this is a good place to share all of that and put that out into the world. So thank you very, very much, DeDee, and take great care of yourself.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Jōrni Podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Jōrni on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejorni.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.